This is the PNW Sports Report, MLB edition. Let's get it. On tonight's show, we are going over our player of the weekend, who we think is going to get traded next, and recapping the Rafael Devers trade, as well as recapping 7 weekend series. Let's get started with those recap of 7 weekend series. Give me, what is the first one?
Let's start with the home team. The Rays take 2 out of 3 from the Detroit Tigers.
This is a takeaway for me is this is the second time the Rays have taken a series from one of the top teams in baseball. They did it a weekend ago against the Mets, and now they do it against the Tigers. And I've got some breaking news after we're done with weekend. Actually, I'll break it right now. The Rays recalled Chandler Simpson.
Yep, that's true. Mm-hmm.
And sent down Cameron Meisner. About time. But Tigers fans, you have nothing to worry about. The Rays are 2.5 games out of first place, even though you lost 2 out of 3. You still have nothing to worry about.
No.
What is the next weekend series?
Well, we can talk about first place. The Phillies take 2 out of 3 from the Mets to take over first place in the NL East.
Yes. Well, and before we get, I have a little bone to pick with the Mets. Why are you sitting down? You're playing the Braves. You started a series against the Braves yesterday. And I know this is like recap, but why are you sitting down Ronald Acuña's brother to AAA? Luis wanted to play against his brother. But back to this. The Mets, they're going through a little stretch right now where they beat the bad teams, but the good teams, they lose 2 out of 3 or get swept. And Phillies fans, you still have no room to talk because one of your fans is still up to no good talking about how Aaron Judge is a cheater because he's still using the torpedo bat, how he didn't know about Kyle Raleigh until this year, how Ellie De La Cruz is falling off when Ellie almost hit for the cycle last night. Against the Yankees, or how he hasn't heard of Vlad Guerrero Jr. until this year, which I find that highly impossible. But for the Mets, they need to turn it around, or else there's going to be some big time changes that need to be had.
Either that or the crap is hitting the fan for the Mets in a way. So yeah. It doesn't get
and for the Phillies, good job. You took 2 out of 3 from the Mets. That's all I got to say.
And they took over first in the division, which
for now,
but showing the Mets most of the season.
I'm going to say this. I would not count out the Braves from making a run at first place.
No, because they're getting their guys back at the right time. So no,
even though they lost Christopher Sale.
Yeah, I saw that. After there have been rumors that they wanted to trade him, or we could talk about that later, but they were talking about trading him, being a possible trade to go to the Yankees. That's what I heard over the weekend.
God.
So, yeah.
Like the Yankees need any more help.
Well, it's like him going to the Dodgers too. That's another thing.
Speaking, who is the third weekend series we're going to recap?
Well, there was only I'm going to mention this one because it was the only sweep of the weekend, and that was the Brewers sweeping the Twins. That was the only game. Only series.
Okay, so the Twins, I guess they're falling back down to reality like we talked about earlier in the season.
Yep.
And for the Brewers, I understand they're in first place right now, but I still don't see a way. They don't, because they just called up Jacob Mizorowski. And what did they do with Devin Williams in the offseason? Traded him because they had Trevor McGill. What would make you think they wouldn't do the same thing with a guy like Freddie Peralta?
Yeah, true. True.
However, he is not somebody I'm going to talk about later that I think will get traded. There is 3 names that I will talk about later on in the episode that I think will be traded. And unfortunately, yes, one of them I do have going to the Yankees. But in the Twins, I think we might start to see them sell off some players, including Byron Buxton. And I mean, I would say Royce Lewis, but I can't because he's hurt again. Which I feel bad. That's a career that has kind of gone down the quote unquote drain because he can't stop. He can't stay on the field.
Yep. Can't stay healthy.
What is the next one?
This one pains me a little bit, but the Giants did take 2 out of 3 from the Red Sox after the Raffy.
Oh, I have some news. Sources, not only is manager Rocco Baldelli's job not in jeopardy, the Minnesota Twins acknowledge that they're struggling.
Okay.
Do they pick up his option for 2026? It says they're going to exercise his option for next year.
I guess it depends, but on how they finish the year. I mean, they had that 13-game winning streak, but that's old news now because they've struggled since that streak ended. I guess if they make a run and if they're in the playoffs or just fall short, I could say yes. But if they're nowhere near a playoff spot, I could see a manager change in Minnesota.
I could too. Back to the Giants and Red Sox. I mean, I guess you could say, and we'll talk about Devers later, but I guess you can say he put it to his old team.
Mm-hmm.
And for the Red Sox, why not just keep Christian Campbell at the big leagues? I understand he was struggling, but let the kid take his lumps.
Yeah, I agree.
And I saw they sent him down, and I guess the Red Sox were going to Wilkes-Barre, but he stayed back in Worcester to get some extra reps at first base and to take reps at second base.
Do you think, but it's kind of like a Chandler Simpson type moment where he was sent down to get some at-bats and then they'll bring him back up? Because I think that was the whole thing with Chandler. They wanted him to go down and work on things. Now they brought him back up. I mean, that could be what they might be doing with Campbell. It's like, hey, go work on this. We'll bring you back up. Like, I don't think they're going to keep him down in the minors for the rest of the season. I highly doubt that because the Red Sox could be they could be sellers at the deadline for everything.
I just heard that is it Breslow? Is he the GM?
Yes, correct.
He said they're going to buy at the deadline.
Wow. Okay.
And they may be big fish hunting at the deadline.
They did get rid of the Devers contract because now it's all in San Francisco, so there might be some money. Well, that's right. There's no salary cap in baseball anyway. Never mind.
No, but we can get to that a little later on when we talk about who we think's going to get traded next. Because there's some interesting names that we could throw around that could get traded. But so that's 4. We've got 3. Yeah, 3 more.
Okay. We can do the Jays take 2 out of 3 from the White Sox.
Blue Jays fans. You should be disappointed. You should have swept the White Sox. The lowly White Sox that are, need I add, they are starting Jordan Leisure tonight as an opener. That's how bad the White Sox are. They're starting a reliever instead of using a regular starting pitcher. And for the Blue Jays, you're in third place, which I'm going to admit right now, I'm probably going to be wrong where I put you all at the beginning of the season. I still think you're going to be selling. I think the Blue Jays are going to be a little bit of both at the deadline. I think they're going to sell off some guys, but I also think they're going to be a tweener. They're going to buy and sell. Because are you going to tell me that you're going to keep Bichette and lose him for nothing in free agency?
That's not good. Well, it's happened before, but I don't think that'll happen in Toronto.
No, I don't either. So that's our 5th weekend series. Who is our 6th that we're gonna recap?
The Padres took 2 out of 3 from the Royals, and I can talk about the Padres and the Dodgers. We can talk about them too.
Oh yeah. We can talk about that after this little segment before our players of the weekend. Well, I gotta say this. I think Jack Caglione has arrived.
Oh yes.
Robbing a home run. Yeah, put him out there in right field every day. He does not need to be playing first base. And he's blocked at first base anyways right now by Pasquantino and a guy that probably just needs to retire, and Salvador Perez. That will absolutely be in the Royals Hall of Fame.
Probably be in the MLB Hall of Fame too.
Yes, and 2%. Yeah. There's no question.
Yep.
Speaking of former Royals, Whit Merrifield just announced his retirement today.
I just saw that pop up on my phone, bud. Yep, I just saw that pop up. Yep.
And then on the Padres side, there really isn't. There's not a lot to say for them. They're second place in their division behind the Dodgers. That NL West, I feel like, is wide open now. And I feel like the Diamondbacks are going to start to fall out of it. And I'll explain why in a minute.
The last series, but was kind of a surprise to me that the Marlins took 2 out of 3 from the Braves over the weekend.
Well, you know what? We talk bad about the Marlins. We talk bad about the Rockies. I think both of these teams, in a way, are kind of turning a corner in their rebuild. The Marlins, I know they're going to trade Alcantara. I know they're going to try to trade anybody that they think has an ounce of value, which is not a lot, other than maybe Alcantara. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you're going to get... Well, we could talk about that in a whole segment later on, but for the Braves, this is embarrassing. You shouldn't be losing 2 out of 3 to the Marlins.
True.
And ladies and gentlemen, there is a new way to get involved in the show. As you see on the bottom of the screen, we now have a text line and a voicemail line that you can leave your comments and thoughts on the show or any questions you have. And we will answer them either during the show or the beginning of the next show. And that line is open 24/7. But let's get to the... First of all, let's get to the Diamondbacks news. Corbin Carroll goes on the injured list with a fracture in his left wrist. Big loss for the Diamondbacks. Josh Naylor also got scratched from the lineup with a shoulder injury, and he was on a 12-game hitting streak. And then, as you know, a couple weeks ago, Corbin Burns is out for the season with Tommy John, and Justin Martinez, a reliever, also has to have Tommy John surgery for the Diamondbacks. So those are three of those four guys are those are all big losses for the Diamondbacks.
Injury bug definitely bit him.
Well, and Eugenio Suarez left last night's game too with an injury.
Yeah, they could be. I hate to say this, but it could be one of those where they may have to. The injuries are going to put a nail in their coffin for the season, because unless those guys come back, Tommy John, you're out for the rest of the season, and
Naylor is scratched, but I would imagine if they needed him to, he could probably pinch hit.
Okay.
Corbin Carroll, they have no idea when he's going to be back, but I would assume he's going to be out a while.
I would assume, yeah.
And then, like you just said, Tommy John, you're out for the year. So Justin Martinez is gone for the year and probably the first part of next year. And same with Corbin Burns.
I was going to say they're going to be out for the first part of next year too before they can get back to.
And people are like, and I was reading it, watching videos. People were saying, "Oh, this is the effects of Spider Tack." Spider Tack is gone.
Mm-hmm.
There's not very many pitchers that still use it. And they're thinking that Corbin Burns uses it. Last time I checked, he doesn't. But now we get to an interesting series over last week. The Dodgers and the Padres.
Yeah, if you want to go back, just go to John Boy Media, take a look at the videos he made for those games. And by the way, folks, they have 6 games left between the two of them. So grab your popcorn,
is far from over.
Get a ticket. If you're in the San Diego area or you're in LA, grab a ticket because there is going to be drama because these two teams don't like each other. They haven't for the last few seasons, and now it's starting to boil over. And now you're starting to see how much they hate each other in a way. Wow. I mean, Tatis got hit twice. Ohtani got hit twice.
Well, and then Ohtani got hit on intentionally at one point.
That was, I think, Bud, game 3. He got hit in the back after the Padres the Padres were winning the game. They hit him, and Ohtani laughed it off. I don't know if you saw his reaction.
Yeah, Ohtani's like, okay.
Don't come out of the dugout. I'm good. Don't come out of the dugout. He was joking around with the Padres in between pitches and stuff after they threw the Padres pitcher out of the game. He was joking around with the dugout. So, but yeah, there's.
You know what needs to happen? They need to issue warnings before the game starts.
That might happen, but for the next game, wherever, I don't know.
Is that's the only way I think that they can diffuse this situation.
Let me see when the next time these two teams get together or where it's at, because I'm curious.
Well, and then we can talk about Ohtani pitching.
He did pretty good in his return, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but Phillies fans want to say, oh, they paid him $800 million to pitch, and he only pitched an inning. Give me a break. It's the only reason he only pitched an inning is because they don't want him to go back on the injured list as a pitcher with another injury to his elbow. That's why his first 2 starts, he's only gone an inning.
The next time these two teams get together is the 15th through the 17th of August in LA.
Ooh.
And then just a week later, 1 week later to the day, they're at home, the 22nd through so August, end of August, get your popcorn out, ladies and gentlemen, because they're playing against each other to end the month, right in the middle of the month of August. So.
As we like to say, must see
TV.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep. the managers charge after each other. You know how much they hate each other.
Oh,
That
yeah.
poetry just by itself.
That's like the Yankees and Red Sox, the Rays and the Yankees, with the whole Mike Ross, Aroldis Chapman throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastball over the head of Mike Brasso, and then Mike Brasso hitting a home run off of him in the playoffs.
Yep.
But yeah, let's briefly touch on Ohtani. And let's should we tell Phillies fans to calm down because they're talking about, oh, why is Ohtani only pitching 1 inning? Do we need to remind you that he just came back from
surgery
on his elbow?
Yep.
And the Dodgers don't want to rush him back.
I think at the end of the day, Ohtani is a generational player. And I think they're just jealous he didn't go to Philadelphia.
Oh, absolutely.
He went to LA instead. And first of all, he's not paid to pitch. He's paid to hit. We all know that.
Yeah, he hits absolute nukes.
He has the pitching concept as the additional to him. But Phillies fans, he is paid to hit, not paid to pitch. He's not paid to pitch. So.
No. He is not paid to pitch at all. If he wanted to give up pitching, he absolutely could, and he could just be a DH.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at Jack Caglione. Jack Caglione was a pitcher and a hitter in college, and now he's exclusively a hitter.
Yep.
But now we get to our players of the weekend. Who is your player of the weekend?
I'm going to go with Seattle Mariners catcher Cal Raleigh. Raleigh went 5 for 12. I'm sorry, 6 for 12. Excuse me. 6 for 12 against the Cubs. He had 4 homers, 4 home runs, 6 RBIs, 3 walks, only 2 strikeouts, and 1 stolen base. He might be.
And I just, you know what? This is an interesting stat I just saw. He has the most stolen bases in Mariners franchise history for a catcher.
Did not know 8. That. Okay.
I did not know that till I saw it earlier today, and I thought I would say that on the show tonight. It's an interesting stat.
I also think he has the most home runs of any player going into the halfway point of the season, too.
Yes, he does. And they're putting him in the same discussion as guys like Barry Bonds. Which, when you get put in a discussion like that, you're doing something right.
Correct.
My player of the weekend is Royals pitcher Seth Lugo, who went 6 innings, 6 1/3, gave up 2 hits, 1 earned run, didn't walk anybody, struck out 7 over the weekend. And just look at in the Royals, their rotation, they're doing this without Cole Reagans, who we had talked about in in spring training in the preseason that we thought he was going to be their ace. And they're doing it without him. Now we get to a segment that we are calling the next player. Well, yes, the next player to be traded. And then after this segment, we will talk about the Rafael Devers trade fallout. This segment is probably going to be a little long, ladies and gentlemen. But who are 3 guys you think could get traded next, and what team could they get moved to?
I have 3. And actually, one of them we just talked about their team.
And we can throw around other names too.
Okay.
Because there's other names in the rumor mill after we do our 3.
I'm going to start with Dylan Cease, the starting pitcher for the Padres. Dylan Cease was my first one.
Who do you think?
These were players I looked up. Well, it's the funny thing is pitching. Everybody needs pitching. That's the hard part about it. But Detroit, maybe somebody he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna get traded to a non-contender. I don't see a non-contending team
Could you see the
trading
Red
for something.
Sox?
That's a possibility because I heard Walker Buehler could be gone too as of earlier today. I read an
Yankees?
article. I don't hate that, but that's a possibility. That's a very big possibility. He could be in pinstripes before the end of the year. Yeah.
Who is your second one?
Josh Naylor, the first baseman of the Diamondbacks. Another guy that's a good power guy. I don't know. How about a crazy one? He goes to the Rays to help the power numbers. I know, but the Rays lead the league in stolen bases, but it would be cool if they also got some power too. And they've been scoring more runs of late, but I think he would fit very well. Now,
what would you? Problem is that
Aranda,
would block. Yep, I was just about to say that would block Jonathan Aranda. And what was the whole point of putting Yandy at DH?
Yeah,
what did the front office wanted to do? They wanted to give more playing time to Curtis Mead, who's, you know what? All of a sudden, Mead started to hit.
I think the two bud for the Rays that are on the chopping block has to be Morel. You want to get if he has any value, you want to get him now while before that and the other one. Who was the other one? Maybe not so much trading was Johnny DeLuca. Was it DeLuca they were talking about on the radio? Forget
if it was. He's hurt still.
Oh, he's hurt. Okay, it's not DeLuca then. Who was the other one?
Meisner?
Maybe it was Taylor Walls they were talking about.
Oh, well, yeah, that would make sense because Hassan Kim's due back.
Even though I know Kim took a step back, so did McClanahan, but they are both now back in line to be back soon, from what I've heard on local Tampa Bay radio that talk about the Rays. So, yeah.
I mean, would you throw... Okay, so who's your third one?
Marcell Ozuna. Now, I know that would kill the Braves, but he's a DH.
He's due to be a free agent, too, at the end of the year.
He'd be a rental player unless he goes to a team that...
Red Sox?
Yeah, that'd be fine. That would be fine. I could see that.
Where's happening. Yoshida? Like, he's all of a sudden just disappeared.
Well, he's hurt, or he was hurt to start the season. And I don't know. As a Red Sox fan, I'm kind of on the fence with Yoshi. He showed signs that he's great, but then on the other hand, he's shown that it's like we made that move to bring him from Japan. It doesn't seem to work. In some cases, doesn't seem to work out. So
yeah. Okay, so there's your three. My three. First one, Charlie Morton. And I've got an interesting team that I think would make a ton of sense. He pitched for this team for the last 5 years before going to the Orioles in free agency this year. And they could use a pitcher with Chris Sale on the injured list.
Atlanta Braves.
Yep, the Atlanta Braves. And they have the prospects to do it. I don't think it's going to take a top 10 prospect to get a 40-year-old Charlie Morton. I think it might take a top 25 through 30 prospect in the Brave system, which I was looking at their prospect pool prospect list the other day. They've got some prospects lower down that I think they'd be fine with offloading to get Charlie Morton back. The next one, and this might ruffle some feathers within the Twins organization or within their fan base. Actually, I'll tell you the other reason a Charlie Morton to the Braves makes sense. Not only Chris Sale hurt, but it would be a reunion, and I feel like they could fix Charlie Morton. Because we see what's going on with Charlie Morton right now in Baltimore. I think him going back to the Braves I think the Braves pitching lab could do justice for a 40-year-old pitcher and fix Charlie Morton. Number 2 is Bailey Ober, and I think he gets dealt to the Yankees. The package is probably going to be 2 mid-table prospects, maybe a guy that's already on the roster. The Yankees do need help in the rotation. Whether we like to say they do or don't, they do. I mean, Will Warren's been okay. I know they're soon to get Luis Hill back. But, and if they don't want to go for Ober and they want to go for a big fish, I mean, I could see them going for Alcantara because they're looking for Freed's a lefty. They're looking for somebody from the right side because they wanted that 1-2, that lefty-righty combo at the top of the rotation with Garrett Cole and Max Fried. And, of course, we know Mr. Cole is not coming back this year.
Correct.
And my last one is Ryan Helsley. And I think he's going to stay in the National League. And I'll explain why it makes the most sense. I think he gets traded to the Diamondbacks. I'm sorry. I like me some Shelby Miller, but I don't think he's a reliable closer. And you're not going to tell me that a guy like Ryan Helsley wouldn't fit perfectly in the ninth inning in that Diamondbacks bullpen. And it would take the stress off of Torey Lovullo. He would call down there in the 8th inning and say, "Hey, it's bottom of the 8th. We're up 2-1. Get Helsley up in the bullpen for the 9th." And he wouldn't have to worry about it. So now let's throw around some other names and potential fits. Ryan O'Hearn of the Orioles. One fit I've heard is the Red Sox. Would that work?
I would think so. It's hard to say because again, it's in the division, but it's happened before, so it's not as.
Well, the thing is, the Orioles are going to. I would think Baltimore's going to sell at the deadline, so it makes sense. I would say yes, because I don't think the Red Sox. They would have to give up a few prospects, but it wouldn't be any of your top 5.
Yeah.
I think it would be somebody around the 15 to 20 range, maybe. Another one I've heard is, and this is the Red Sox, Jarren Duran getting traded. And there's 3 teams I've heard that are good fits for him. The Phillies, the Padres in left field, and the Dodgers.
Dodgers don't need any more help.
So what is the best fit if the Red Sox do end up trading Jarren Duran? What is the best fit for him?
I would say San Diego because it's a contending team. You know, they're right behind LA in the NL West.
And they've already got one of Duran's former teammates,
Xander Bogaerts.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think a package would look like for Duran? Would the Padres have to give up a top 10 prospect?
Do you see maybe them trading Dylan Cease in that trade? Duran for Cease.
Straight up? Like a
straight up, maybe that
change
something like that.
As people like to say, quote unquote, change of scenery.
Yes. Yeah.
Change of land. I like to call it change of landscape.
Yeah. I think
Cease for Duran straight up, no prospects involved.
No, I don't think you need to do that if you trade, because the Padres would get a great outfielder and the Red Sox would get a good starting pitcher in return. That
could go slot into the number 2 right behind Crochet.
Correct. Exactly.
Which is what the Red Sox are looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would say the best fit is probably San Diego. I'm tempted to say Philadelphia, but in the trades I've heard that people have mocked for Duran to the Phillies, they've had the Phillies giving up Mick Abel, Andrew Painter. And I think if the Red Sox picked up the phone and said to the Phillies, we'll give you Jaron Duran, but we want Andrew Painter. Who hangs up first?
Probably the Phillies.
Yeah, I would think Painter and Abel are
untouchable
in trade talks because you're going to lose. I think you're going to lose Zach Wheeler in free agency. I think either next year or the year after. Aaron Nola has already talked about. No, Wheeler's going to retire, I think, after next year.
Yeah,
he's talking about retiring.
Yep.
So that opens a spot. So that's where Abel could go. And then maybe you lose Ranger Suarez or Aaron Nola. And that opens another spot. Who hangs up first? The Rays call the Marlins and say, we want Kyle Stowers. And the Marlins say, okay, because the Marlins are going to try to get as much value out of Kyle Stowers as they can. And the Marlins say, okay, we want a package centered around Xavier Isaac, who is one of the Rays' top 30 prospects. It's Xavier Isaac, Christopher Morel, who will be rerouted to another team because the Marlins are probably not going to keep him. So it would be Xavier Isaac, Christopher Morel, maybe Ian Seymour, and Taylor Walls. Who hangs up first? If anybody does.
I would say no, because the Rays are going to get rid of players that they need to get rid of. They're going to get a pitcher, or he's a pitcher, right? Coming back.
Stowers is an outfielder.
Outfielder, okay.
That's been mashing for the Marlins this year.
Yeah, I mean,
I would say that's way too much value.
I could see, but Isaac and Morel, and that's it, because they're getting a top prospect in return. You're getting a player who's, do you call him a journeyman? I don't know what you call Morel, but something along those lines. You get a veteran and a prospect that you could build your team around in the future. That's what the Marlins are going to do anyway. They're young anyway, so you got to start somewhere. So, yeah.
Okay, here's another one. So the Cubs, they pick up the phone and they call the Marlins. And the Marlins want, the Cubs want Alcantara. The Marlins say, okay, you want Alcantara. Well, we want Kevin Alcantara. We want James Triantos. We want Moises Ballesteros. Who hangs up first? Because the Cubs, I just read before we came on that they're going to trade for a starting pitcher within the next week. Who hangs up first in that scenario? I would say the Cubs.
Yeah, I was going to say too much going back for one guy. Yeah, too much going back for one player.
I mean, but if you could modify that trade, if you could modify that trade, who would you take out? Ballesteros, and you just give up Alcantara and Triantos?
Yeah.
Or Sandy? But then would the Marlins say that's too little then?
Then what do? You give him cash considerations or a future pick?
You tell him, well, because the thing is, Alcantara still got term left.
Okay.
You say, oh, we'll take all of his money like the Giants did with Devers.
Correct.
Because the Cubs are a semi-big market.
Yeah, so then Chicago would eat the rest of that contract. Yeah.
Okay. Here's a little bit of a controversial one. And I don't know if it's going to happen, but it would be funny if it did. The Astros pick up the phone, and I know we're probably both going to say no to this. The Astros pick up the phone and call the the Twins about Pablo Lopez. Because the Astros need, if you look at the Astros injured list, what is the most noticeable thing on their injured list? Pitching. And they say we'll give you Jacob Melton and 2 other prospects for Pablo Lopez. I'm going to say the Twins hang up and they say no automatically. What would, if you're the Twins GM and the Astros call you about Pablo Lopez and they give you that kind of package, what would you do? Would you hang up the phone?
I think I would. Yeah, I think I would. I would have them adjust it maybe in a way. But yeah, again, too much going back for one of my guys. So,
and Pablo Lopez, the problem is he's out injured right now. Okay, here's one. The Yankees pick up the phone and they call the Cardinals about Nolan Arenado. I know everybody's getting tired of hearing, oh, when's Arenado going to get moved? He's going to get moved. Like I said, the Yankees pick up the phone. They call the Cardinals and they say, oh, what is the asking price for Arenado? He's top 15 prospect, so maybe a Ben Hess and a Spencer Jones, who the Yankees, I'm sorry, I like Spencer Jones. I think he has major league potential, but not with the Yankees. He's blocked. He's an outfielder and a first baseman, and there's no way he's going to be able to play in that outfield because you have Judge, you have Dominguez, you have Grisham, and then at first base you have Ben Rice and Goldschmidt.
Mm-hmm.
So you have Spencer Jones going back, Ben Hess and Spencer Jones, 2 top 20 prospects going to the Cardinals for Nolan Arenado because we know the Cardinals are going to fall out of contention. Who hangs up first? And, well, tack on top of that, the Yankees also take on the rest of Arenado's contract.
Well, they could. I mean, they are. I think behind the Dodgers, they have the highest payroll in baseball. Who plays third for them right now? Is it Chisholm? Who plays third base?
Peraza. Oswald Peraza.
Arenado might be an upgrade to that position for them.
Yes, Chisholm has played a couple games at third base, but I think Chisholm's better at second.
Second? Okay. Yeah,
or better yet, put him back in center field.
I'm wondering, probably the Cardinals, because again, if they're giving up Arenado, well, I guess it depends too, because St. Louis is in contention. So that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
And one more, who hangs up first? Again, it's with the Cardinals, but I talked about it earlier. There's 2 teams I think that can make this move. One, the Rays pick up the phone and call the Cardinals, not about Arenado, but about Ryan Helsley, to put him at the back end of their bullpen in the 8th inning to pair with Pete Fairbanks. And they give up Xavier Isaac, Ian Seymour, and Gary Gilhill. All top prospect. Ryan Helsley. And that's who first.
I don't think I think that deal may go through. I don't think
nobody
hangs up on that deal. Yeah.
Get one. Yeah, Ducks. Who I talked to, the Ducks, the card, and they looking for a closer, and we'll you. I want to say Jordan Lawler, but that he's going to be blocked. So we'll give you two of our top 20 prospects for Ryan Helsley. Who hangs up first?
I don't know. I think that's another deal that may go. They may talk and exchange things to make it work.
Because Helsley's going to be a free agent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It'd be
So
rent a player for the end of the season, and hopefully maybe you can sign him. Yeah.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to let Bradley explain how the name change for our show came about.
So me and Alec were talking last week about it, and he had talked about making it the Alec and Bradshaw. I said, why don't we use our last names? And after I put this show together, I realized it sounds like a law firm. But anyway, the name sticks, guys. I think I like the way that the name is now in the P&W. I like that. But yeah, that's how it came along. I had a buddy of mine make us a new show logo. But yeah, and I'm excited about the text line and stuff. I hope that people text in or comment. I'm curious to hear.
I'm curious to hear too about
what people have to say. Yeah.
Yeah. And this the P&W show is not just for baseball. It is also explain to them how we're going to do it for college football.
So yeah, college football begins in about a month and a half, give or take. I think August, and it will be a college football. We'll probably have college football and wrestling and stuff to talk about. I think the way it's going to be set up, guys, is we're going to talk MLB on Tuesdays, and then on Thursdays we're going to switch to and when the college football season starts, it probably will be enough topics for us to do both days of college football. But yeah, until that time comes up, it'll be that way.
Yeah, it'll be Tuesdays will be MLB, Thursdays will be college football, which we have our first college football P&W episode on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
But that's going to wrap up tonight's episode. We will see everybody on Thursday and tell them about your show, which I will be back on Thursday.
Yeah, guys, it's the Walker Report, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be talking about all the latest sports topics. I'm working on interviewing a LPGA Tour star that just played in her first LPGA Tour event. She's a good friend of mine. So I'm working on the next couple weeks of her coming on the show. Alec will be back. Last week, if you guys missed my show, I'm getting over a cold, and I guess I sneezed pretty badly. And my co-host wanted me to leave the show because I was tearing up. I got through the show. Everything is fine. I'm feeling better. But we'll be back next week. The four of us will be back. We'll have all the topics up. As of right now, I think I have one for MMA, one for NCAA. I'm working on it as we get through the week, and I'll have my notes. Everybody will have their notes by the time we get to Thursday evening.
But for the P&W show, we are signing off. We will see everybody Thursday night.
See you then,
Remember
guys.
that text line and voicemail line is open 24/7. Send your questions to that phone number at the bottom of the screen. Interested to see what everybody has to say.
Me too.
But for Bradley and Alec, the Pecado and Walker Sports Report, your number one law firm on YouTube, we are signing off.
Yes.